What commonly accepted fact are you not really buying? The paparazzi. It just blows my mind how it's completely legal for them to literally stalk celebrities and take photos of them, even without their knowledge. If some other person does it, there are repercussions. But not if you're from the paparazzi. The coin shortage. That my cat doesn't have a second family she invites over when I'm at work. That there's any good reason, unless you're into printing photos, to purchase an inkjet printer, e.g., instead of a laser printer. What a subpar product. Nevertheless, folks seem to gravitate to it. That I'll understand when I'm older. Well, I'm older and still don't understand anything. Edit. Holy shit. Rip my inbox. I didn't think a tongue-in-cheek response like this would have generated so much interest. You'll understand when you're dead. That vinegar does half the shit the internet tells me it does. Print the suspicious claim and soak in vinegar. If bullshit, it will disappear. Your call is very important to us. There is someone for everyone. Statistically true. Realistically false. The average person falls asleep in 7 minutes. Everyone says they are doing my mom. Vincent van Gogh committed suicide. This isn't a weird conspiracy thing. I don't think he was assassinated. But a lot of the actual evidence points to him covering up for a local troublemaker kid who accidentally shot him with the pistol he got for his birthday. Rather than get the kid in trouble, he buttoned up his shirt and walked home. And literally told his brother when he got there and they noticed the blood, I shot myself and I'm going to die, don't look into it. Which is actually really sweet. That award shows highlight the greatest achievements of the year. I don't believe any Reddit content from active users is ever truly deleted from its system, even if we no longer can see it. And this may even be the case for inactive users regarding their content which we no longer can see. Money doesn't bring you happiness. Well, lack of money sure is ish. Tea doesn't either. That the moment you stop looking for love is when you find it. I've paused my search many a time and just got lonelier. I think that saying is meant to mean that if you stop searching for love and instead focus on your own happiness, you're more likely to attract someone. People are a lot more attractive when they're healthy, whatever that means for them. In my county, Greece, there is a common saying: when we invented democracy, Western Europe still lived on trees. Therefore we're primitive. Without actually having done enough research, my anthro and history readings give me a hunch that's wildly untrue. Just respond that Egypt was writing poetry when Greece was gnawing on raw meat. That bullies are bullying others because these bullies are not confident enough. Well, not according to studies. Fish don't feel pain from fishing. Japan octopus sashimi is sometimes served by cutting off the arm of a live octopus, serving the arm, and then returning the limb lacking octopus to its tank to be sliced up again later. They claim that they don't feel pain so it's okay. But that just doesn't sit well with me at all. Edit. Sorry, not often. Sometimes. Most of the time they're already dead when served. Magnets. How do they work? That my work cares about me. There is this thing I read somewhere where it was said that men think about sex every 10 seconds or something like that. I don't believe it. That's absurd. I don't even have a coherent thought every minute. That there are hot singles in my area. I've always had my own personal one. My biological grandfather was born in the 1800s and I'm only 33. He had my dad later in life who had me later in life, so I'm one generation removed from someone born in the 1800s, which seems pretty uncommon for someone my age. Life never gives you more than you can handle. Duck that. That collectibles, Beanie Babies, POC registered Simon cards, Legos, commonly sell for thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands on eBay. Seems like it's faked half the time for money laundering reasons. That some people believe in flat earth theory. I'm pretty sure the surge of this online in the early 2000s was satire trolling for fun. But with a global audience, literally all the morons in the world have access to the same information. They just lack the full set of lenses. That spiders are just as afraid of us as we are of them. 1. Insects don't think like that too. That fish can't feel the hook in their mouths. Like how can they not feel it? It's just a wasp. I used to be one of the if you leave it alone it won't bother you camp, and I reliably got stung by a wasp at least once a year. One day I decided that, without exception, every single wasp that came into my zone of terror would die. 2. 1. I haven't been stung in 20 years. Semicolon. Objection. Oh no, don't do that. The smell of dead wasp attracts other wasps. Answer. Then they too will face my wrath. Objection. Don't kill wasps. You're coming into their home and messing with them. Leave them be. Answer. Incorrect. Wasps have nests. I have a house. Outside is neutral territory where we both have the right to defend ourselves with lethal force. If a wasp can kill me, that wasp has earned my respect and a meal fit for a king. The same applies to me. Objection. Dude, you're being really weird chasing wasps. You're kinda ruining the vibe of the party. Answer. Silence, wasp sympathizing communist. You are next. People swallow X number of spiders while they sleep over the course of their lifetime. This claims makes no sense if you think about it. When and where and was this observed and recorded? Why would spiders be walking over your face at night? These animals spin webs to catch insects in. And most of all, who doesn't wake up in a panic if something crawls over your face? Into your mouth and down your throat? It is fake. Fun fact. It started out as a way of showing how easily misinformation spreads. All snowflakes are unique. Onesie pop. Not quite a lie. Pringles are pretty addictive. I simply refuse to believe that no one can out Pizza the Hut. Someone either has or will do it sooner or later, and I hope to live long enough to see that day. That hair doesn't grow back thicker and coarser once you start shaving it. That nothing can travel faster than light in this physical universe. Let's set aside the idea that if you collide with a tiny fragment like a grain of salt at relativistic speeds, you're going to have a devastating impact explosion. That intuitively makes sense to me. However, in a truly perfect vacuum, I am sub-rationally convinced that the reason we have concluded that nothing can travel faster than light is because we have no observable phenomenon that we can measure it. To me, that seems like not having a ruler long enough to measure how long something is. If something can travel faster than light, we have no means to measure it. But just because we cannot measure a thing does not mean it is impossible. This is like the mechanics kinetics version of Flatland. 9/11 was not shady at all. I mean, terrorism is always shady. That the 40-hour work week is the natural way of things. Humans were not made to toil our lives away. Yes, we have to contribute to society, but we can do that without killing ourselves slowly. Influencers. That birds are real. Reddit, Twitter, FB, etc. Cheese Whiz is not socially accepted in different countries other than America. I know some Norwegians who love the stuff. That tricks are for kids only. They're not. I'm supposed to want to have a job work. My human animal instinct tells me it's bullshit and I refuse to be brainwashed and a slave. One or the other, and I've already been a slave for this long. That this was sincerely posted for anything other than farming karma. That trans women should be offered cervical checks. They deserve support, safety and respect. But pretending they have a cervix is plain daft. That Scientology is a religion. That people actually enjoy beer. That cancel culture is new and comes from liberals. Cancel culture has always been here and the right does it as well regardless of what the mutant ninja turtle Joe Rogan wants you to think. That putting non-violent drug users in jail is actually helpful. If drug abuse is treated as a social issue instead of a criminal issue, then addicts could actually get the help they need. The failed war on drugs is expensive and stupid. That working 40 hours a week, at least, is a normal thing. And that if you find it difficult, there is something wrong with you. That you have to prick potatoes before you bake them. I have cooked hundreds of potatoes in the oven as well as the microwave over the last 20 years without pricking them. And have only had one pop. That certainty exists. As Jesus once said, only a Sith deals in absolutes, totally Jesus. Bit on a more serious note. Nothing we know can be certain because we don't yet have a way to measure with absolute certainty. It's always relative to something else. Only a Sith? Only? Sounds like an absolute to me though. Darth Jesus. That older generations know what is best for the youth. As an American, this is daily mainstream politics in a nutshell. I refuse to believe the world was that heavily into ducking sea shanties at the start of the year. In the same vein, moist isn't a bad word at all. Bacon is nothing special and the mimetic status of it is just plain weird. Nickelback are fine. There's no reason for them to be unanimously hated. Basically, any product of internet groupthink is completely stupid. A negative times a negative is a positive. Screw that noise. The end of the pandemic is near. That the planets in our solar system can fit between Earth and the moon. It blows my mind and I don't believe it. This one is confusing because anytime you have seen a picture of the planets may have been to scale, with the exception of the sun, compared to each other. But the space in between them sure as hell is not. If the Earth is the size of a ping pong ball, Mars is still a km away. Corona making the leap from animals to humans because someone ate a bat at a wet market. There was a lab doing research on viruses in bats 2 kilometers from the market that was reported for lax safety standards, and 2 of the members of staff reported corona-like symptoms in late 2019. And the Chinese government refused the WHO team investigating the origins of the virus access to crucial data from the early days of the virus. OMG, what an amazing coincidence. The Grammys are based on talent. That sugar doesn't cause kids to become hyperactive. Drinking something sugary or eating a sugary sweet while exercising is known to give you an energy boost. And eating something sugary before going to bed is known to keep you awake. So why on earth is it becoming an accepted fact that children being given sugar doesn't make them hyperactive when it so clearly does? I know that there are apparently scientific studies that have proven there's no link between sugar and hyperactivity in kids. But my counter to that is there were scientific studies that proved tongue mapping was real science and not the enormous steaming pile of horse tea that we all knew it to be. Long before educators caught up. The study must be flawed. I don't know what the science is. But I think sugar rush and hyperactivity due to sugar is an American phenomenon. I've never experienced it or seen it and no one in my country believes in it or talks about it ever. That Coke Zero tastes just like regular Coke. No, that kind doesn't. That there's no cure for cancer and other incurable diseases. Oil is from dinosaurs. You're right to be skeptical. Most oil comes from algae. I think. There probably isn't any that actually came from dinosaurs. Or any animal for that matter. That your parents will love you no matter what. This unconditional love seems to have a lot of conditions. I refuse to believe that absolutely everybody was kung fu fighting. Printers aren't inherently evil. As my 1981 6th grade teacher put it, computers aren't stupid. Stupid people program computers. Quit blaming technology. That at a family-owned business, if you're a good worker you will be treated like family. Wrong. Every family-owned business, all the best jobs go to family members. Family members get away with everything. If they find a new cousin that needs a job, then they toss someone aside. Do not work for family-owned businesses. The government has our best interest in mind. I before E except after C. Literally false a majority of the time. Why does it give me cake without it being my birthday? That I have a doppelganger somewhere out there. Show yourself, dang it. I want to see me. I mean you. That most of the stuff mentioned here is actually a commonly accepted fact. Melvin did not cover their short positions in GME. People that say they like IPA beers. You lie. This is their unpopular opinion in a nutshell. That cops don't have a quota for traffic tickets. Kamala Harris is a role model for women and people of color. That Reddit is really full of good people with the right ideas or opinions. Everyone here collectively seem to have superior morality to the real world, everything and everyone else outside. I really don't buy it at all. That the police exist to protect us. Red meat is bad for you. There's a God. Credit scores are an accurate representation for someone to pay back debt. A blanket's only purpose is to ward off monsters. No matter how old you are or how hot it is. Change my mind. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. You have keep in contact with toxic family members, longtime friends. Turns out you don't have to, no matter how much family and society pressures you. The idea of giraffes. They just don't seem realistic enough to me. I know they're hiding something. It does seem like a bit of a stretch. That the shorts covered doors. I understand technically how they work. But at the same time I feel like something is missing. Like, how are they strong enough to keep us as safe as everybody thinks? That the mask does not protect me as well. This is mostly me being hopeful because if I get COVID I'm very likely to die. So I like to think that wearing it at the very least decreases the chances of me getting COVID myself. You must get married and have children to have a happy life. That humans can actually multitask. We can switch from one task to the other rapidly. But our brain isn't capable of multitasking in the way we understand the phrase. The only exception is doing whatever task while keeping our lungs breathing, heart pumping, etc. Edit. Talking about the technicalities of how our brain processes information and executes function. Some good sources about this theory are in the thread. Apollo Robbins' TED Talk Thinking. Don't try to half-ass two things. Gandhi was a symbol of peace. Anyone who read Nathuram Godse's autobiography would know the other side of Gandhi and Indian National Congress. Nathuram Godse was the person who assassinated Gandhi. That the Nazis were uniquely racist and how their racial ideology dominated their entire political and cultural framework, as is often depicted in movies. I like how Alan Moore put it when talking about V for Vendetta. He didn't want the fascists in this book to be Nazis from space. He didn't want them to be some pure evil cartoon who bore no resemblance to real life. He wanted them to be humans who honestly believed in their ideals and had their own reasoning for siding with them. Taco Bell gives you diarrhea. That daylight savings ever made sense in any way. That China has their COVID-19 under control. I can't really believe anything that comes out of the CCP. There's a growing mantra that men need to talk about problems. We don't. At least not all of us. We just want to get on with it and not waste energy talking about what annoys us. Most see it as men not wanting to reveal their weakness. It's more lazy than that. I'll deal with my issues later when I'm focusing on it, and I don't want to focus on it now in a conversation. I don't think the argument is that men need to talk. Rather, they are allowed to be emotional without it being a threat to their masculinity. That horses are able to be tamed. Those things are made by the devil and scare the shit out of me. Forget ghosts or demons under the bed. There is a reason why the mafia put a head of a horse in the bed. Everything happens for a reason. That Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. That everyone will end up having kids and that it's inevitable. I don't buy that. That Australia exists. Think about it. An entire continent that is mostly empty desert. Yet is full of deadly everything. Snakes, spiders, mammals, birds. Just all murder happy. Not to mention the marine life. Poisonous everything. Mammals that lay eggs. Rodents with pockets. 1/3 of the population named Bruce. It just all sounds made up. Stevie Wonder is not blind. He's legally blind. He can still see. But the amount he can is so freaking small that for all intents and purposes, he's blind. That we're all racist. That my car's extended warranty is coming due. Behind every successful man there's a woman. I mean, sure there are probably tons of successful men who didn't have any female role model in their life. I think they mean with that saying any woman who helped them get to where they are. Wife, secretary, co-worker, etc. Not role model. But women doing or who did their scut work at a time when they weren't. Yeah. That Tesla and all the other companies Elon Musk is involved in are legitimate companies that are valued correctly. I also don't believe any of the hype about Elon being some sort of visionary genius with genuine desire to help humanity. I believe his only real talent is building up hype. All the revolutionary ideas his companies get credit for either already existed like reusable launch systems or are more impractical and expensive versions of existing technology like the Hyperloop compared to bullet trains. I don't feel like going into detail. That people actually put fish on their pizza. I've heard of it but I have never seen it. Not once. Hot. Spare the rod. Spoil the child. It does not refer to hitting. It's Proverbs 13:24. Whoever spares the rod hates their children. But the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. It's referring to a shepherd's rod. If a shepherd hits his sheep they just run away in rebellion. If he uses the rod to guide them where he wants them to go they'll do as he requires. It's about parents being a constant guiding force in their children's lives. Or, you know, parenting them. Or they'll just be rebellious and feral. That sitting too close to a TV will make your eyes go bad. But sitting the same amount if not closer to a laptop is just fine. That we really must live in a world where working 40+ hour weeks is the norm. That UB has any significant downfalls. That more vacation time and treating employees right would lead to negative outcomes. There's nothing that can be done this very year to solve homelessness and hunger for those who want it. I call BS. This world is so f***ed up. Well, everyone makes jokes about Internet Explorer being slow. But the reality is it wasn't noticeably slower than other browsers. It was only hated so much because it was made without web developing standards in mind. So web developers had a lot of trouble making content that works on it consistently. So it was buggy-ish t. Not slow. If your IE was slow then your computer was slow. 50% of American marriages end in divorce. It's only 30% of first marriages that end in divorce, so you have a few people that get married and divorced multiple times and it drives the stat up. That people in the past accepted taxation peacefully. I think that it got normalized through time. That the gender pay gap is actually as wide as 33%. I don't think that number accounts for any variables or shows any serious scrutiny of the data. You are whatever you say you are because feelings override science. OP said commonly accepted facts. Not straw men. That Kurt Cobain killed himself. It had to have been his girlfriend. I worked on the Cobain documentary. There's zero basis for Courtney Love killing him. I've read every journal entry he ever wrote. I've seen every piece of art he ever created. I've seen everything he owned. The dude tried to kill himself in Rome. He was suicidal from high school onward. Even Chris said he thought that was the last time I'd see him when he dropped Kurt off at the airport. Chris had known Kurt forever. Hitler committed suicide. I think it's a lie that the Soviets said to portray him as a coward. A body was never recovered. Only a skull fragment that has never been DNA tested, and never can be, as Hitler had no known kids. And all of the witnesses that gave that story later recanted. I don't know what happened to Hitler. But I don't think he committed suicide. I think he survived and ran off somewhere. There's a fun documentary about this called Hunting Hitler. It's a little put on your tinfoil hat at times. But overall was very interesting. You may enjoy it if you haven't seen it already.